All right, so let's kick this one off, eh? This is not good. If we have a brief look what is going on in the world, I'm trying to get away from the internet, but everything just keeps drawing me back. So I'll just discover some relaxing music. So I'll play some of this back through, and then I'll cover some stuff, eh?
The rejection of what's right can mean you're in denial. It either breaks you or makes you become hostile. I swallow many lies before tasting the truth. In the beginning there was darkness, beautiful you.
Alright, so let's continue on from there. We have currently the Fed, which has a credibility problem. Now, why do I talk about this? The title was Emergency SEC Coming After All DeFi. So let's have a look at what the Fed is doing. So is the Fed kind of equivalent to a government body? Now, they're not an enforcement arm of the government. However, you know, they act in a similar sort of way in terms of the ability to be able to provide, you know, influence on the entire economy. So, for example, if the SEC was to say XYZ, this is law, there would be flow-on effects. Just as if the Fed was to say XYZ, this is what's going to happen, there would be flow-on effects. Now, again, this is not legal advice. Please do your due diligence. Have a look what is actually going on in this space, especially depending on what jurisdiction you're in, because it might be relevant. You might be able to provide comments or feedback should you be able to find ways to do so. So before I continue on, I guess I'm doing this live. It's almost reactionary at this point in time. But yeah, it's not well planned out, to be honest. But we'll have a look at this. So globalists pushing world CBDC. Let's have a listen to this.
It is, according to his website, Hey guys. So the big news today is, are your tax dollars promoting a global CBDC? Yesterday, a secretive and seemingly IMF-affiliated...
Okay, so I'll let you guys watch the rest of that in your own time, but continuing on here, the Fed's credibility problem. You can go through all this now. I thought this was interesting to see. It's not the best read. It might not be intriguing, but it says here we have two problems, right? At this point, there's no denying that the world's most powerful central bank has slipped in its analysis, forecasts, policy making, and communication. So you go to the Fed updates to find out what is actually going on. You hear about all sorts of stuff, and their communication skills hasn't been the best. Have a look at the Fed now disaster. Everyone's calling it the new central bank digital currency. Now, whether or not that is actually the case, time will tell. The bad news is that the good news is that the Fed can still right the ship by adopting a better strategic approach for its analysis and actions, and by addressing two major structural problems. Just touching on the Fed now system, I did cover it before. I basically said I believe that it's like the infrastructure is being set up right in front of our face. However, it probably won't function as directly as a central bank digital currency, but most likely one day you'll go to your bank and the bank will roll out a central bank digital currency because you signed the terms and conditions. Moving on. The first problem here that they address is, is groupthink. The Fed's decision makers seem to have lack the viewpoint diversity and comprehensive expertise found in other major central banks. So they get groupthink, right? So where have we seen this problem before, when policymakers all get together and think there's a disaster pandemic taking place right in front of their eyes, and they all get groupthink? And what happens? You see this same policy rolled out across the world, and if you disagreed with it, you were the black sheep. But it turns out the black sheep was correct. Now, I will continue on here. The second problem concerns basic accountability. While the Fed chair does appear before Congress twice a year, those hearings are not conductive and focus on what really matters: Fed policy design, implementation, and the policy needs another layer due to diligence, blah, 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 blah. The specialists in the field also reporting to Congress ahead of regularly scheduled testimony, right? So what does this mean? What does this mean? Well, if you go by the problems, hopefully they can address these problems. And in closing, this individual basically says there's a worry that the chair will not actually be remembered as a Paul Volcker. for having conquered inflation, or alongside Arthur Burns for having opened the door to stagflation. The worry is there could be something else, so a whole new category of wreckedness, to be technical, you know. As the Fed, that undermined its own credibility, its political autonomy, and America's crucial anchoring in the role center of the global economy, right? So take that however you wish, internet, but some people might be pointing out there is a credibility problem with the Federal Reserve, you know, and there's some issues that could be coming our way, and so far, best of my understanding, looking forward to another rate increase in the US upcoming. If that changes, I'll let you know. But the funny thing is, here in Australia, we had a rate pause, right? But then the forecast for the next 2 months is 2 more increases. So I don't know why. It's almost as if it's the quiet before the storm. It's almost as if no one actually knows what's coming, and they're freaking out. Why is it so quiet? What's going on? We've seen some cryptocurrencies pump. Maybe they've become risk-off assets of all things, you know. Okay, so moving on. You know, when there's more risk and people go to the risky assets, and they don't want risks, they don't go to the risky assets. You know, maybe crypto's all of a sudden becoming risk-off, but I don't think that is the case. And I shouldn't laugh, because this is what the real point of this stream, well, one of the points of this stream is currently, is that I think it is the following. I don't know if you saw the thumbnail, but you can imagine like video games and things like that when there's a war going on, like the old school Red Alert games, and they have like arrows, and this is the battlefront, and this is where the troops will be moving in. So what I'm experiencing, through my understanding, again, just some internet sleuth on the internet. Should you really be listening to me? I don't know. Up to you. Up to the world. You decide, YouTube. You decide. But if you have a look at the war front, you are seeing individuals talking about central bank digital currencies in some way, shape, or form. We are seeing, you know, the same sort of messaging, the same signals being picked up across the board. We're seeing infrastructure being rolled out. There's an argument. Here's a weird argument for you. PayPal could be the infrastructure for part of, you know, a central bank digital currency. Some Ethereum blockchains could be some of the infrastructure for central bank digital currencies, etc., etc. FedNow could be a part of the, you know, the infrastructure for central bank digital currencies. You talk about innovation in regards to cryptocurrency. What do you think is going on in the legacy finance world? They're so worried about this cash and crypto thing that they're having to cherry pick ideas and try and roll out a central bank digital currency which will get rid of your cash and rid of your cryptocurrency. Now, on top of that, I've heard, relating to cryptocurrency, that really tough regulations are going to be coming our way. Now, I thought, well, maybe the worst was in, and everyone got all happy la, and no one seems to focus on what is actually taking place in this space. It's very frustrating, but at the same time, it's very hard to keep track of what is actually going on, even here in Australia, because this is out of my jurisdiction, US. So whatever I say in relation to US, technically you can say, shut up, you don't know what you're talking about, you're not from America, you have no opinion on this. However, I would push back and say, look, what I'm seeing take place in some countries is going to affect me. So, what's happening, chat? There will be a day when the government stop trying to hurt financially. Will there be a day? Question mark. Tell me about it, man. Oh, man. Oh, my God. Ugh. Now, where was I? It's not that they are trying to hurt us mentally, physically, or financially, or both, or all three, but it's honestly, they think they're doing the right thing for whatever reason, and that is really frustrating because many times they get it wrong, and the answer seems to be more government, and the answer to that, when they get it wrong, it seems to be more government. It's a never-ending loop, and for some reason we the people think that we can just sit back and things they'll leave us alone. Well, I got proved very wrong in that theory in regards to previous pandemics. Okay, so I thought maybe they would just leave me alone with my crypto. No, now they're going to come for that. And what do I mean by now they're going to come for that? Well, again, I'm based in Australia and we are currently waiting for updates. And they were, I think, July pushed back to August for some findings for a token mapping. And then after that, there was going to be an update in relation to licensing, issuing licenses for exchanges. Now, front running that news, we now have US SEC deciding to word their proposals to target can't even speak. They're basically explicitly explaining that they're going to target DeFi, in their wording. But then some of the articles are good. They push back and say it's vague, doesn't make sense. They're trying to, I don't know what they're trying to do. This might be the extremely tough regulation that I was warned about. Now, so I thought, well, I'll let the dust settle for, a day or two because I'm trying to get away from the internet, to be honest. We see here multiple articles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, within the last, couple of days, and it goes on and on and on and on. So I thought the best way, instead of trying to put together some sort of speech and reading it off the paper in a suit and tie, somewhat similar to how, Legacy might act, I thought I would just show you what a normal person is seeing, right? And their frustrations when they read this, because remember, by the time we read it and consume it, it's not old news, but maybe people already knew this was happening, which is the frustration. So here we go. Grab the popcorn or grab something to throw at your computer screen. Don't do that. But you're going to get frustrated at this. If you, like me, believe, for example, that cryptocurrency, proper cryptocurrency, real DeFi, that allows you your financial freedoms, is now being targeted. So when you have real things that can offer you financial freedom, it can teach you, if you learn about operational security, you might be able to escape this matrix, this enclosure, with central bank digital currencies being the key to locking us all down. So how would they lock everyone down? They would have to get rid of cash and cryptocurrencies, because in a world where CBDCs rule and it's programmable, you cannot have cash, you cannot have freedom, right? And this gets into it. These articles reflect some of this. Now, if there is a way and you figure it out, now I think I've got a link here. You can contact, the SEC themselves and explain to them why you think what you think. Because again, I'm outside of US, so I have no say in this. Now, after they decide to not destroy the economy, but, have some credibility issues causing whatever they're going to cause, it could be a whole new category because, they've undermined their own credibility, their political autonomy, and the crucial anchoring role at the center of the global economy, so people may not trust them as much or have as much faith in them anymore. We're also seeing, as a, double offensive, we're seeing an attack on not just crypto in general, DeFi. And this is after, mind you, after all the centralized exchanges went bankrupt. They were committing crimes, they were committing fraud, they were donating to political parties. This is all reportedly, it was creating influencers overnight who were magically appearing simply because they were hating on these people who ripped everyone off. So that many people were resonating with hating on these centralized exchange figures. Now, it probably goes a little bit deeper than that, because it then goes on to the bank collapses, if you can remember them, and you can remember how some FDIC companies weren't actually purchasing certain aspects aspects of the banks and rolling out the services providing specifically to crypto exchanges from memory. Again, double check all of this. But if you're not like a goldfish and you have a memory, some of this might sound a little bit familiar, you know. We have here, so this is the you know, the Fed doing their thing, the economy having a collapse, the movement, the push towards central bank digital currency, and now we see the rug trying to be pulled out from underneath DeFi, you know, from guess who? From the loving government. Are you serious? The government that wants to create more government. Okay, how do they want to create more government? Let's have a look. So last year there was a widened view of security exchanges will fold in DeFi. Again, the legal advice, not any advice, an internet sleuth here covering random stuff on the internet. What appears to be random. Now, if it includes DeFi, the updated proposals now use more direct language that include DeFi in the widening definition of regulated exchanges. So as I said, funnily enough, they're going to have the definitions updated around the same time, or roughly around the same time, as Australia's going to have some new, you know, communications with the public and exchanges and other people in industry to see how they should better regulate and issue licenses to exchanges. And isn't this going to be useful if, for instance, these guys, whoever they are, the SEC, decide to word, you know, all exchanges as exchanges? That would give ammunition for the Australian government, the Treasury, to define exchanges, any exchanges, as such, regardless of their understanding on how code actually works, you know? So we'll get into that a little bit further because some people touched on it, like articles touched on it a lot more than me. And then you've probably already read all of this stuff. However, it's always good to hear other people's point of view, and you can say it's garbage and trash, throw it out, or you can say it makes sense, do some more digging. Like I mentioned in some other articles, you might have to dig a few layers until you find the source. Then once you find that, analyze all of everything in context. Moving on, don't have to tell you how to live your life. Listen to this. Calling yourself a DeFi platform is not an excuse to defy the security laws, he said in Friday's meeting. So what is he implying? He's saying what? That if you, regardless of reading code or not, if you just call yourself DeFi, that's no excuse to break the law because we've just changed the law to make whatever you're doing illegal. Okay, so that's assuming they can find anyone that's, you know, performing these, you know, magical button clicking or reading of code is so frustrating. Now, so that's what, you know, was said. So that is interesting. I don't know what that's targeted as, but simply put, it says calling yourself DeFi platform is not an excuse. So I would hope, you know, if there's other platforms in the any system that is, you know, saying that they are DeFi, then you find out maybe they're being run by, I don't know, banks or managed funds or people that are trying to mimic that sort of operation. Who are they actually being run by? If you find out that it's not actually being run in the way that you think it is, then you might have a problem with the SEC, as per this reading, because they're saying calling yourself DeFi platform is not an excuse to defy the securities laws. Moving forward, so this does not sound too different to what was said in the token mapping exercise. However, I didn't want to go down that avenue because I didn't think SEC would be pursuing this way in the manner that they are, especially when they started saying, what levers can we use to make decentralized exchanges act within certain regulations? And I'm like, hang on, what is that? What is this wording? And then they asked the same question against centralized exchanges, to which I tried to explain DeFi. Enough laws, enough regulation, leave it alone, because it's actually decentralized. Now, moving on, the agency isn't, this is more frustrating. Now, don't worry about the colors. I just wanted to break them down. I didn't want to go through the whole, if you've ever been on TED and watched some of their talks, they break it down how to simplify things into green, good, yellow, unknown, red, absolutely bad. So the agency isn't looking to actually define the DeFi in the rule. Okay, so they're not going to define DeFi, but they're going to say if it's it calling itself DeFi, is not an excuse to defy the security laws. But we won't define what that is. Hang on. Shouldn't you be telling everyone the actual definition of what you are proposing to enforce in terms of, okay, so here is the road, right? Here is the highway. We're going to put some speed cameras on this highway, and we're not going to tell you what the speed limit is, right? So if you start getting fines and you lose your license because you got too many fines, that's on you, because we're not actually going to tell you what the speed limit is. That's probably a good example. It's kind of frustrating, I would say. Now, moving on. But we'll evaluate each situation by how the activity is being handled, including whether there's an intermediary and exactly what service that intermediary is providing. Again, so changing gears slightly, if you are functioning in a way that is, as they stated, calling yourself DeFi is not an excuse to defy the securities laws. If they change it to that and they say, okay, they discover XYZ is doing this, and then that is defined as an intermediary or something like that, so maybe it's not real DeFi, then you're going to have a problem. So let's just be the SEC and just make everything up as we go along, right? Very, very frustrating. I do like my analogy with the road. Traveling though. Now, if you're new to this, and if you've tuned in, hopefully some of this rambling is making sense, because this is not good. We're seeing here. The peers argued though, the new text doubles down on defects from the original and articulates confusing and unworkable standards. No shit. So, okay, keep on going. And then it says, noting last year's destruction of so much of the centralized crypto industry, noting last year, it's like we saw a shit ton of sorry to swear, but we saw a lot of centralized exchanges do what? Because they were doing what? Look it up. A lot of it was just criminals breaking the law. Simple as that. She added that it seems perverse to me that we would be encouraging centralization. It's like, let's all pool everyone's money together and give it to some human who will then break the law and disappear with it. It's not even contract code of that risk at that point of view. It's literally just let's just give our keys to other people. Who cares? Funnily enough, right under this, can you hang on? Right under this article, it's like, buy crypto on a trusted platform. Oh my god, this is the same one that, okay, anyway, we should have gone, okay, this is why I ignored the coloring, but we should have gone back to square one and issued a concept release, so kind of what is taking place here in Australia, I think, because another bill has been released and that has to go through Parliament. You have to track and trace whatever is going on. Now, what they're saying there, I don't disagree with. We should have gone back to square one and issued a concept release, said Pierce, who asked a lengthy series of questions of the SEC staff about how the new exchange definition might work, and was frequently told that staff would have to think about questions to get back to her with more information. Okay, so this is where you may want to provide comment to how this is being created in the US. I'll continue on because it gets better. It gets better. Now, let's have a look. So this is where it's a bit, it's going to go a bit vague because I haven't had a chance to look at this. Basically, I skipped all of this, but I think it's worth having a brief look. So, get back to her with more information. Okay. Critical of the proposal's expansionary and ambiguous language. Again, so there's no definition. They said they're not going to give definition, but they're going to outlaw it. Okay, so noted the SEC's answer to many of the key questions from those who could be regulated seems to be, it depends. It depends. Okay, so you're going to make laws, but it depends. So the same Yeah, arguably the same government, even though the Federal Reserve is not part of the federal U.S. federal government. It is called the Federal Reserve. The Fed's credibility problem. The SEC might have a credibility problem at this point in time if they keep saying, "Oh, it depends. We're not going to define definition. It depends. It depends." Okay, all right, it depends. Gensler reiterated his view that the majority of crypto tokens are securities. Okay. Why? Oh, it depends. Definition. There is none. Okay. Alright. So these platforms match orders. Okay. Yep. Blah, 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 blah. Industry pushback. Here's the industry pushback. I think most of us could imagine what this is going to be. I'll leave the link and you can go through this in your own time. Let's have a look at a little bit of it though. The industry has long advocated for the US rules that can bring certainty how the company's activities need to operate through prominent crypto exchange executives, and the lobbyists have also said the SEC position that they need to register for the existing securities won't work for this industry. The SEC is broadly chosen to against a tailored approach to the cryptocurrency sector that will acknowledge how it differs from the rest of the finance, with Gensler routinely arguing that long-standing security laws are sufficient. So I've heard this here. Also in Australia, basically one question was put towards Treasury, and the response was it may be that cryptocurrency already falls under existing laws. So yeah, what's happening, Tin Top? I'm trying to escape the internet, but it keeps pulling me back in because, as you can see, there's like a shit ton of this SEC DeFi crap, and it is frustrating. So I thought, as an internet sleuth, it is my it is my interest, it is my duty to serve. No, I don't know. It's just it's frustrating as hell, because what's going to take place exactly coming after my zeros and ones. And no, see, this is the thing, Tin Top. Sorry to point you but where is it? They won't even define. They're going to come after your ones and zeros, but we won't define what we're coming after. We're not actually looking to define DeFi, but we'll evaluate each situation, and depending on how we feel, it depends. It's like, what? What do you mean? You won't define? Okay. I don't think they know how to. Yeah, so back to what I was saying. SEC had pushed this exchange definition rule to other proposals last year that, without detailing its intentions with crypto specifically, had suggested the agency meant to formalize its reach into digital asset. They're calling it digital assets again, which is fine, but it's just, I can see what's coming, and it's really bad. Let's have a look. Yeah, I don't know. There's another article that covers it a little bit better. Let's have a look. So digital assets, they're talking about that. They had a digital assets thing recently here in Australia, so it's all sort of magically lining up. Later, the agency became more explicit about having its eyes on digital assets when it issued another proposal in February that could bar investment advisors from keeping assets at crypto firms. Again, more stuff to dig into. With each proposed rule, the SEC walls are closing in on crypto businesses that insist there's no path for them to regulate into regulated finance. Okay. Now, I think, what else we got? So the agency received almost 400 comment letters on this week's revised proposal and disclosed 35 staff meetings and calls with Wall Street lobbyists, industry self-regulatory organizations, the Bank of England, and other regarding the effort. Okay, so that's interesting. So, maybe provide some comments to this on their plans. Let them know what you think. Let them know why this could be good, bad, or otherwise. Because if you don't, this is literally if you're too worried, you're too busy trying to make all your mad gains and shit, which is fine because you can build it, and yeah, they can't shut DeFi down, but then maybe they invalidate the ability to ever be able to exchange it into fiat, something like that. Because, not just the new CBDC that's going to make this possible. Think about existing processes in place. So the whole process of creating these laws, or whatever the SEC actually does, I'm not overly familiar with, because again, based in Australia, so I can't speak to it directly. However, I can see, I like to think I can see where this is headed. And it's not good. So again, this is not the FUD. This is to point out, push back, do something, do anything. In the words of the great McAfee, rest in peace, do something. Just do something. Because if you think you can stay in your house or wherever your hotel or whatever, and it's not going to come for you, well, it kind of proved to you in the pandemic, well, yeah, it's coming, and there's nothing you can do about it. Like, not anyone in this chat directly, just generally saying, it's kind of scary. Now, with each proposed rule, so there's comments, letters, okay, cool. Even when the new exchange definition didn't name crypto explicitly, the industry opposed it with the assumption that it had digital assets platforms in mind. So, it's not crypto, it's digital assets, because maybe they're thinking, if all of a sudden everyone just tokenizes, I don't know, their equities or something, then that's why we need to regulate them. That's why they fall under XYZ. It's like, hang on, which people should be explaining DeFi and what it actually is. The code, like, once is they're going to come after electricity next. You wait. Electricity powers the code. So we're going to ban all electricity. Well, they're already going after the green new scam, so they're trying that way, but they're going to fail miserably, and it's just going to push. It's going to push things that traditional energy is, traditional energy is not going anywhere, right? So when they're pushing for all this green new garbage, what do you think is going to happen to normal factories that produce energy, like coal plants, for instance? Maybe they might do well. I don't know. Anyway, moving on, because I'll cover briefly while I've got that on the tip of my tongue. Just think about it, right? Going back to what took place on the 2nd of April, OPEC announced surprise cuts in oil production. Was that a friendly move to the West or to the US? In a time of uncertainty, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, in a time of the Fed's credibility problem, and now front running the SEC's news to come after DeFi. So let me get this straight. Right? Let me get this straight. So if I have a car that's not electric, even though when I plug the electricity into the wall, even when I plug the plug into the wall to get electricity, it'll probably be powered by, coal, gas, etc. So if I have a car and you cut oil production, what's that going to do to the price of oil? It might go up, yeah? And so what's that going to do to the price at the pump? It might go up, yeah? And at the time when I'm also struggling, because maybe I've got a mortgage, one or two, I don't know, maybe you're an investment firm, I don't know. And maybe if you're the bank of, the SVB, Silicon Valley Bank, they found it too hard, obviously, to employ risk managers to be able to purchase non-treasury bonds, They decided to purchase 10-year bonds. And oh my god, the rates are going up. Who would have thought? Oh, but that's because the Fed doesn't have they have a credibility problem. So more incompetence. Which just happened to tie in to the failure of some other banks, and then we saw the FDIC decided not to, purchase a part of the bank that actually, what did they do? I don't know. Helped crypto exchanges settle their money or something like that. Like, that's insane. That doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound normal. And the way in which it took place sounds absolutely insane. It sounds like a conspiracy theory. But then you're seeing it happen in real time? Okay, cool. Now, we have attacks on the US on multiple fronts, while the attacks on cash and crypto appears to be increasing. Now, where was I? didn't name crypto explicitly, but they mentioned digital assets. The proposed failed to adapt to, let alone acknowledge the fundamental new ways in which individuals can conduct asset exchanges using DeFi protocols. The Blockchain Association and the DeFi Education Fund argued in 2022 letter to the SEC. Instead, it would improperly apply regulations designed for intermediating exchanges like the New York Stock Exchange to software or software developers. That's insane. Like, this is what I feel like they're trying to do. They're trying to make things nice and easy and saying, but they won't define DeFi, but they'll set regulation. And then if you don't meet it, well, you'll get in trouble then. It's like, could you just define things? Could you learn about things? Could you learn about software or software developers? Oh, no, it's not our job to learn about software or software developers. We write things. We read things. Okay. Doesn't OPEC always cut production before the summer? Maybe. But this time, they're going to cop the blame for cutting. They're going to cop the blame for cutting, especially because Biden's drained the strategic oil reserves. So you guys going to hear about that again not from the US, from Australia, so you don't have to listen to me at all. Where is it? Chairman, House Financial Services Overseas, wrote a letter with another committee member saying the agency seemed to be trying to expand the SEC's jurisdiction beyond its existing statutory authority to regulate market participants in digital assets ecosystem, including the decentralized finance. So, what's the answer to government? More government. Oh my! Can we please not have the answer to the government, who's already doing a bad job, to be more government? Can we just fix things? Okay, Circle Internet Financial sought the chance to ask for more specific crypto rules. Yeah, that would be good. In a view of the unique architecture of digital asset markets, we suggest that the Commission would benefit the most from a wide-ranging concept release focused on digital assets markets and how best to achieve its policy goals in light of the unique architecture of such markets. The company's comment letter suggested. Okay, cool. But some were glad last year the possibility crypto could be folded into the oversight. Yay, more regulation. The cryptocurrency industry is rapidly expanding, with some industry lobbyists insisting that their offerings and platforms fall outside security laws and regulations. Better Markets, a Washington-based group advocating for tougher protections in the financial system, wrote a comment letter last year, but clearly the Commission must apply securities regulation equally to all securities regardless of how novel, innovative, popular, or profitable such offerings may be. Okay. Great stuff, right? Again, this is just like, it's almost like fear porn at this point. I think it's something we do need to at least be aware of, and whether or not it interests you, whether or not you think you can do anything, the rest is up to you. But to just bury our heads in the sand and go, everything's fine, it's just all fine, no one's coming for DeFi, especially not here in Australia, no one's coming. It's like, hang on, if the SEC begins to go after DeFi, maybe Australia copies. I don't know. Maybe the whole world copies. I don't know. I hope not, though. I hope not. Let's have a look. All of Europe, too, has to fill their reserves this summer. Bro. Dude, so imagine if they tokenize oil on the blockchain, and then and then you can just fork it whenever you want. I'm sick of this. I'm just gonna fork it. I've had enough of this gas price. I'm gonna fork some more into existence, sell it for fiat on my central bank digital currency app, and then I have enough to buy gas. Oh wait, the central bank digital currency. Wait, let me do that. Oops. Now, the SEC Hester Price says Ginzel plan to target DeFi undermines First Amendment. Ooh, okay, so this might be relevant if you're in the US and you actually have a constitution. We have one here in Australia, but it's somewhat different. Now, what's the First Amendment, kiddies? This article will help explain it. maybe you could give comment back to the SEC and be like, bro, what are you doing? We could make it all professional. Blah 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 as per blah 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 blah. I don't know how you're gonna do it, but just word it right. Okay, getting tough on crypto, and today American regulator revealed he's not leaving the most complex space. Most complex space, DeFi. Okay. In a Friday announcement, the SEC said in a press release that it would revisit plans to change the definition of what is considered an exchange. This would include DeFi or decentralized finance protocols like decentralized exchanges. This is what's happening in Australia as well, but we're waiting for time to pass. And then once time passes, they're going to have what they propose to do with exchanges, and then they're going to have, a commentary period or like feedback period, which will tie in possibly to how this is all panning out, because that can be delayed, So if certain countries start saying DeFi is XYZ, other countries might follow. However, I think in the EU there was the MiCA, and everyone's like, oh, DeFi is going to be left alone, DeFi is going to be left alone. I think honestly, everyone just needs to push extremely hard back on this and be like, it's DeFi. What are you talking about? It's like, it's code. It's ones and zeros. It's literally code, ones and zeros. And you're talking as if someone controls these ones and zeros. That's what it sounds. It's absurd. Let's just ban computers because you can connect to the internet. So we're going to ban internet. We're going to ban electricity because it runs the computer. I don't know. We're going to ban microchips. We're going to stop the processing power. Now, anyway, mentioned again, digital assets. I keep noticing that word, digital assets. Make no mistake, blah, 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 blah. Investors in the crypto market must receive the same time-tested protections that securities laws provide in all other markets. Oh my, so, hang on, wait. So, there was a crisis. It was called the crypto crisis. It was through regulated exchanges. People were hurt. Now, the regulation is going to come, and it's going to be to protect people from the nasty crypto exchanges. So then the regulators are going to use those same protections against people who are in crypto in DeFi. Bravo. Bravo, that's the Patriot Act 2.0. Bravo. Well played. Who would you say this is? Government? Well played, government. Because again, we see that you are the chess masters, and for some reason you just enjoy stomping on noobs, in your opinion. Because relative to them, relative to the abilities that government has versus a small individual, one would say that there's more weight behind, a whole body versus one individual. Okay, so the idea wasn't received well by all regulators. So this is the interesting part. This I was trying to explain with my ramblings before. Oh, dude. No, you need... That's right. No, sorry. I'm from the government, and I'm here to help. And for you to access the internet, you will need a internet license, and you'll fund. Remember when you could buy hours on the internet, and you fund your hours on the internet to only certain websites, because you'll only be allowed to access trusted and verified websites, because they're rolling out the fact checkers. And, YouTube will just start banning keywords. That wouldn't happen possibly. I've never seen that before, and I've never seen anything like a social credit score anywhere in the world, None of that will happen, It'll be fine. You just need to just sign up, You're not so much going to sign up because, when you were born and you got like a birth certificate, that's going to be tied kind of into basically your access, your ability to buy and sell things. Some people might call it the mark of the beast. Yeah, and it's for your own protection. And then if you don't want to get any treatment, any medical treatment, then maybe you won't get paid in your your native token, because crypto's cool. I want to be cool, like tokens, it's like digital asset tokens. We're from the government. We're here to help. We're from the government. We're here to issue digital asset tokens, and regulate it. God damn, it's crazy, hey? It sounds silly. It sounds silly, but yeah. and then it'll be like, if you do not like this digital asset, or you do not like central bank digital currencies, or you're like pro cash or you're pro crypto, it is quite clear that you do not want to protect children, and you don't want to stop terrorism. It is quite clear from that, and you'll be put on a watch list. You're probably already on a watch list, but anyone who's touched crypto, probably on the crypto watch list. Maybe not. I don't know. It's just insane. But then this is the thing. Maybe they're going too far. It feels like they're going too far, and people are like literally pushing back. Like you see in France, it's just like you're not hearing anything at all. But apparently they're kind of pissed over there, and there's a lot of people protesting, peacefully and politically. It appears peaceful, but like it's getting pretty nasty over there. I haven't been on the internet, like I said. I haven't been following that. Now, sends a message that we are uninterested in facilitating innovation. It sends a message because it wasn't received well by all the regulators. Again, Commissioner Hester Pierce said, so he may be more logical from my analysis. Sends a message that we are uninterested in facilitating innovation and competition in the financial markets, and instead seek to protect incumbents. Okay, now yay, freedom. What? Yeah, 100%. If you're not for the like injectable CBDCs in the eyeball, which you scan with a laser that makes you blind, then clearly you're not against. You're anti-freedom. You're like clear. That is clear as day. That's like the sort of that's what it's getting to. But the fact that people openly support it, like who's supporting this? I don't know if there's many people, but I'm kind of in echo chamber, kind of reclusive, basically just go on the internet a lot. But I'm hearing some people saying, "Oh, crypto is a scam. Don't touch crypto." But who's actively going out saying we need to make DeFi? We need to regulate it. Like, who's saying this? They're saying it, and some of their own group are saying, hang on, we're kind of going too far, and we're sending this message, and it says overly broad. It's saying, it also, if you're in the US, it might, its ambiguity undermines fundamental First Amendment protections. No biggie, because you just destroy the Constitution even more. Pierce elaborated, because the release makes everybody involved in the relevant blockchain ecosystem a part of a group. It creates significant ambiguity around what speech requires government pre-approval, which will unavoidably chill constitutionally protected speech. The chilling effect. Look it up, the chilling effect. Honestly, you'll find a pretty decent judge called Judge Neapolitano. I always forget how to actually pronounce his last name, but he goes on Gerald Celento every now and then. Actually, he has Inviting Freedom. It's pretty much on every other day now. Be interesting if they cover crypto as heavily as other people into crypto do, but it's interesting how it's all starting to cross over, because basically everyone's for some reason it feels like everyone is now a target for any reason, and anyone who is a target is deemed evil by the other side. So it's like left versus right. I don't know, different teams at this point in time. Division together, stand together, or divided before, something like that, maybe. And so they're gonna like name it, like as we were joking in the chat, that if you're against this thing that is clearly unconstitutional, this thing that is clearly against it is just it's authoritarian in nature. If you're against this thing and people pointing out that it's this, you know, then you will be deemed as like like the opposite. It's like upside down. It's like inverted. It's like, oh, so the people pushing for, you know, freedoms, are they then going to be labeled as people who are against freedoms? It's like, hang on. Take a step back and really analyze what is going on. It honestly feels like we have these insane people who rule over us, and for whatever reason, they always seem to get their way, regardless of what it is we do. So I'm hoping we understand this and we push back as hard as we possibly can, peacefully and politically, where we can, you know? I mean, it might get to the point where no one listens to anyone in crypto. And I was joking in chat GPT. It's like, what is outrage marketing? It's like, let's hold a rally and everyone protests. It's like, hang on, that's outrage marketing? That's outrage marketing? It might get to that. I don't know. I honestly don't know. Nah, but anyway. But yeah. So Pierce elaborated that because the release makes everybody involved in the relevant blockchain ecosystem a part of a group, it creates significant ambiguity around what speech requires government pre-approval, which will unavoidably chill constitutionally protected speech, the chilling effect, right? That's why I saw that. I thought I gotta talk about this. This is a very good write-up. Now I'll cover some other stuff. Like, okay, DeFi is in a space in crypto aims to make things like taking a loan or earning interest on savings quicker, accessible to all, and automated, unlike banks. You know, that's the explanation. However, you know, arguably, real DeFi, you know, they need to explain real DeFi and why it's different from the things that are regulated. There's no middlemen, you know. You're not injecting third-party risk. It's literally you and the code, if it's correct. Now it's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what they then go after next. Could it be miners? Could it be stakers? And the definitions that they'll use. It's going to be a bunch of BS. Now these tools make it possible to trade or broker. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, it kind of explains it. You know, it's incredibly fast and complex moving industry, and is praised for the degree of decentralized it gives users, but criticizes its lack of security. Its experimental platforms are prone to hacks. Okay, so that's fair enough, you know. But you would teach people this, you would explain people this, but it's too hard to, you know, it's too hard to give the sheeple back their freedom. Let's just put them back in the pen where the wolf is in control of everything and telling the sheep and the sheeple how they shouldn't leave the pen. Let's close the gate on all of the sheeple and explain to them, no, you don't want financial freedom, because then you could go out and buy things, and then you could buy influence, like legally, and you could buy, you know, whether that be you get more attention to yourself because you're vastly successful, you have huge amounts of wealth. Maybe you decide you want to, you know, start some charities up, or do both. You don't want to have, you know, you don't have freedom, sheep. Well, get back in your pen. I'm the wolf and I know best. I'm the wolf and I'm here to help. It explains dexes, etc. Okay, so it breaks that down a bit. And we see this. The SEC has targeted some of the most recognizable American crypto brands this year, such as exchanges, Coinbase, Kraken. Its crackdown intensified following the quick and unexpected bankruptcy of digital asset behemoth FTX in November. Now, did they explain that why FTX, but the criminal that reported criminals, why they were, you know, in trouble? What took place there? That wasn't normal, right? That was not normal. I don't even know. Is this just a show that's just being portrayed to us all that, oh, I'm like, you know, politically involved. I'm just talking about some crap on the internet. It's like, actually, there's not much you can do about it. You know, maybe that's the case. I don't know. Now, what do we got? What have we got? DeFi world has been in the crosshairs of regulators and lawmakers for some time now. Last year, the Treasury Department, so again, same department, Treasury, but in the US, mind you. But the US decided to sanction code. So again, this was the concerning thing. Seeing, a department sanctioning, and sanctions are a big issue. Don't want to mess with sanctions. Don't want to get on those lists. Very bad for existing. And also the people on those lists are like bad. Like most likely should be assassinated or something like that. I don't know. Like legally and lawfully, by the agencies that do that. I'm kidding. Oh, that was really weird as well. Like, didn't one of the founders, he was going to some conference and was doing some shit, and then he got like, I have no idea what happened there. So I can't speak on it. Now, the coin mixer app, Tornado Cash, which helps obscure otherwise transparent threat. Because, the North Korean hackers. Okay, so the North Korean hackers that you know about, this is the thing. I understand the justification. Now, again, not YouTube. I'm not a pro North Korean hacker here. What I'm saying is, if this is known that the North Korean hackers were doing this, how do they know they were doing it if they didn't know it was going on? That tells me it should tell the world, if you understand what I'm saying, it tells me that they are already watching and monitoring them in real time and understand what it is that they're doing. And they noticed a trend, and the trend was they were using a coin mixer app. And that's why they put certain addresses on blacklists, because it was literally going against the sanctions. And again, you don't want to mess with sanctions. And I saw a documentary, I think it was the creator of, I need to pull that up. I didn't plan on talking about this. Basically, my understanding was, again, fact check this as a amateur internet sleuth, that there was an individual who either created the code, something like that, was arrested because he went to some conference somewhere and was trying to teach other people, and therefore, based on my understanding, that's why it was alleged or was reported that he was helping directly people who are on the sanction list, and that's why I'm pretty sure he's still in jail. But yeah, I can't, I need to pull that up. Okay, let's have a look. Let's have a look. So you type in Tornado Cash into your browser, and you're probably going to put on a watch list. True fact. Let's have a brief look at Tornado Cash. What took place? News. Is there a breakdown? Okay, so it's some new stuff. All right. As many remember, in August of 2022, the Treasury Department Office of Foreign Affairs (OFAC) placed what it called Tornado Cash along with a list of Ethereum digital wallet addresses on specifically designated nationals, SDNs, sanction list. So that's like, my brief understanding is, if you have a bank account and you end up on a specifically designated national on that list, sanctioned, flags on systems in place. Correct me if I'm wrong. Anyway, the goal was to prohibit anyone with the United States from dealing with the service, including by sending or receiving money to it. Therefore, didn't shut it down, but it just, you can't use it if you're in the US. Because of people, the ability for it, the risk that's involved, basically, I would put it. This unclear order prompted GitHub to take down. See, this unclear order, again, this ambiguity. Unclear order prompted GitHub to take down the code repository, and within a few days, Tornado Cash developer in the Netherlands was arrested. Yeah, here we go. That's what I'm thinking of. Okay, so that's pretty full on. 8 months ago. And that's the documentary I think that I saw. I've got time to pull that up. I hope Pulse comes out making most of these laws. I don't know. Like, that's the. Don't want to talk about that. It's like, it's quite clear that there's a push against all cryptocurrencies. It doesn't even seem like they're friendly. It's not like they're friendly towards, I don't know, Bitcoin. And like, oh, Bitcoin's cool, but everything else, nah. It's like they're just going after everything as much as they can. The argument seems to be that, oh, it's real, like, yeah, DeFi, you can't stop DeFi. It's gonna, yeah, that's cool. Okay. But then if if they tried to stop DeFi like they did with Tornado Cash, that's like saying they didn't stop Tornado Cash, but if you get flagged, then you would get some trouble, I would imagine. Bad trouble. And then it says he was arrested for unknown reasons. What's happening to Finbear also? Sorry, I'm just going on my little rabbit holes, I guess you call them, from the amateur internet sleuth. Yeah. So a wave of fear and uncertainty swept the open source community about criminal liability for writing or developing code for the Tornado Cash project and related projects. We wrote about concerns with OPEC's actions, outlined steps we were expecting to take in response. What is this? An update. Okay. Yeah. So that's pretty full on. That was like the first time. Well, that I'm aware of, because there might be other issues. There might be other things. That was the first time that I'm aware of that, they actually banned code. They sanctioned code. They made it seem like you can't use it, even though it's still actually running. But if you're from a certain country for that reason, under their legislation, you cannot interact with it legally. I'll leave it there. And then it led to the developer to be arrested. And again, I saw a documentary explained why it happens. Here's a post from Twitter. The United States government wants every single cryptocurrency transaction tracked, monitored, and tied to a person. This is unifying theme between today's action against Tornado Cash, actions against exchanges, actions against us, etc. So, how would you roll out a system to be able to track and trace every single person? We got to get rid of cash, and you got to get rid of cryptocurrency. You could say, oh, you got to roll out the digital dollar, you got to roll out the CBDC, but at the moment, not every transaction is tracked and traced. The ability is there to, but I don't think it's like, a system that's functioning. I think what they mean by every single transaction, what they mean is actually every single transaction. So if you have, you go to the shop, this is how a CBDC or a digital dollar might work, or a system that rolls this out. Like the FedNow service, if that was rolled out with the ability to track every single transaction in real time and flag certain things, this is what it would look like. Imagine you go to the shop, you buy a crate of water, and then, for whatever reason, your account's locked. You go, hang on, why? You log into your bank account or your whatever account exists, and it says you were locked because yesterday you bought some, you didn't eat enough bugs or something. Eating the bugs. And that's literally what could happen, because every single transaction would be tracked and traced. Not just, I don't even know what you'd call it now. Yeah, just literally every single one. It's very scary. I think it's very scary. Because that's my perception, and I feel through my logic that for some reason the entire legacy financial system wants to move towards that. And I have heard in a previous podcast, I think it was Lex Friedman, who was talking to, I can't remember the guy's name, he was like previously in some agency of some sort, and was explaining the benefits behind having a system whereby there's cameras everywhere. Imagine if there's cameras everywhere and you have an accident, and you don't live in that country and you have an accident, the cameras would allow everyone to track and trace what took place, and for insurance purposes, define what actually happened, you know, in like not in real time, well, potentially in real time, but you could go back and look at the footage and go, okay, this is what happened. They went here, they went there, they went there. So that is what I'm thinking about the digital dollar, the central bank digital currency, that they're going to try and roll out. Yeah, they're going to be basically say we need to have it to make insurance easier. We need to have it to track and trace everyone. So then if you're like illegally in the country or you're a person of interest, we need to be able to track and trace every single time you interact with a bank account or whatever system is in place. For that reason, I can see it being of use. However, I don't like the idea of it being used to basically influence everyday people who aren't doing anything wrong and having them under constant surveillance. Again, it's the whole. They have a crisis, right? The crisis is rolls out protection to protect the people. And then those same protections are then used against the people who were supposed to protect. This is the whole argument behind the CBDCs. We're going to protect you, you know. Give us your cash, give us your crypto. We'll give you this wonderful new shiny object. It's like you know, it's a token, it's crypto, it's really cool, you know. We're from the government, we're here to help. The reason behind it is to protect you. But then by the way, we're going to influence you, basically track and trace everything you do. And if you do anything wrong, then we might start to influence you, especially if we get some new politicians on board and it goes on and on, some more government. That is my logical reasoning behind being against, you know, freedoms, being against anything that should try and shut down laws in a country, like especially like the Constitution in the US. I don't think that should happen because of the freedoms that it takes away. And I also don't think that everyday people should be punished to the extent that they would be if these so-called protections are rolled out. It's very frustrating to see. Yeah, that's dude, so true. Oh, what's her name? Do I even want to say her name? IMF, ECB president, possibly. That was a really good one. I don't understand. Like, did she really think that was taking place? That call between Zelensky? It's like, oh, you know, I can't be bothered turning on my camera today. He's like, dude, you're talking to like the IMF like president, possibly. Yeah. Christine Lagarde, I believe, is what I'm reading in the chat. In terms of, there was that video whereby Christine Lagarde thought she was talking to Zelensky from Ukraine, the wartime president actor who likes to dress up in high heels in his side time because he's a comedian. Now let's have a look at, and then you couldn't imagine. Anyway, I won't go there. Let's have a look. Got tricked into talking about CBDCs, unless you're just like ultimate troll, but I don't know. Probably just news. Probably this one. Actually, I might just drop it in. Boom. It's funny though. It is funny how everything, like more and more people are talking about this. More and more people are feeling the need to maybe get involved politically. They're noticing things like this. So previously, without the internet, how hard would have this been to spread this sort of information across a non-existent platform? It wouldn't happen. But now, in this day and age, there's a lot more information flowing around. Again, there's a lot more deepfakes flowing around now, but also the ability to communicate in real time is amazing. Like, I'm able to stream live with like you guys and or whoever's here. I'm able to stream live, and if people want to, they can interact in real time. You know, talk or type, whatever. ECB Christine Lagarde slams digital currencies while backing CBDC. Yeah, so they're slamming those cryptos, but you got to back the CBDC. Now, I went off topic a little bit. I plan on covering SEC as per the name of the title, but you shall see here the SEC DeFi in vote to revisit proposal concerning the definition of exchange. Again, this just reiterates more that we've already covered. So that's interesting. Oh, open commission meetings. This would be worth seeing, observing. Do I have much more to add to this? Probably not. I think we covered most of it, right? Because there is a lot of there's a lot going on at the moment. The good thing, I guess, what I should close with is like, what can you actually do about all this doom and gloom? And if you even believe it, do I even know what I'm talking about? Am I just talking at my arse here? Well, that's up to you to decide. But what I would do if it was me, maybe I would want to try, and if they're asking for public feedback, public input, give it to them. Like, what's the other option? Do nothing. Do nothing, and hopefully everything goes away, and those that want to harm you will leave you alone. It's like, hang on. I think people need to provide this feedback. It goes on. Now let's see if I can find the spot whereby they are asking for feedback. Let's have a look. Provide clarity. Ask for clarity. No, too hard to give clarity. Now where is it? They said though the Friday's public vote to reopen the comment period for 30 days was unusual. So this is literally anyone in crypto in the US. There was some in the UK. I lost track of that one. I tried to reach out to some people in the UK, but they were busy. That's cool. Australia, we got some stuff going on, and we're going to be, I feel, almost downstream from what's going on with the US. This is why, please, anyone watching this particular stream, if they're actually hearing this message, please just go and do something. They've actually given you the opportunity to comment, which is unusual. They're actually seeking public commentary, so maybe people can point out, the why they think that this is nonsense, why they think this is illogical, why they think it doesn't make sense, why they think it might be infringing on maybe people's civil liberties, or it might be, constitutionally illegal, or like what reasons why, this is a bad idea to just broadly state this and not define it, and then tell people, here's the road, there's no speed signs, we're going to start finding people. We're going to put speed cameras everywhere, but we're not going to actually tell you what the speed limit is. You're going to have to guess, and then we'll tell you. It's like, wait, what? Typically, commission would decide behind the scenes if extending a public commentary period is necessary. Okay, so maybe if there's a huge influx, they can't fix. And I always say that they can't fix a tsunami. But just do something. Tell someone. Share this article. I'm gonna have to share that on Twitter. This is the best. That's the best I can do. At least it's something. At least it's something. Now, again, SEC to take action against DeFi platforms. Not good. Pushback. I think they're going for maximum. So they're thinking they go for maximum, and then you push back. Maybe they land in some middle ground. Maybe they leave DeFi alone, But if you don't push back and they go for maximum, they just take it all. Simple as that. Yeah. Again, do something. Push back. Yeah, nah, cool. Thank you for tuning in, Finbear. Always appreciate it, man. SEC's Gensler takes on crypto DeFi exchanges with refreshed rule plan. Refreshed, would get more power to scrutinize. They voted though to reopen comment on oversight plan, which is really good. If you don't say anything now, forever hold your peace. Like, that is literally what this is saying. Now, it would be good if there was an article which actually linked to, you know, this here, where you're able to provide feedback. Because otherwise, if you do it wrong, it may just get chucked in the bin. Like, they get some, like, what's this? You sent it to the wrong place, you know, sort of instance. Now, you know, make sure you do it right. You know, fill it up. Understand. Now, poised to move towards DeFi oversight, reopens. But they're also talking about where is it? So again, industry pushback. I originally saw on CoinDesk. That's probably like this one here. Now, it doesn't say. I don't believe it says where. Also, I'll try and find it briefly. Okay, so SEC moves towards DeFi oversight as it reopens. Opens public comments where to comment publicly. That's good. There's a lot of people covering this sort of stuff. Very good. What it doesn't say is actually, you know, do this, do this, do this, do this. It doesn't even say which particular one it is. So you have to make sure you address it specifically. Alright, so if you find out more of that, I'll update it. If you see it in Twitter or whatever, maybe check it out. If you see it here and there, check it out. We really need to win this war. This is not this is like it's like the battle for our freedoms, like in the future. Like, honestly, it really is. If no one can see that, no one cares, no one's gonna do nothing, then don't complain when your freedoms are taken away. Alright.